Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. I'm Chucky2009, and today we are headed off to go pick up my quote-unquote new 13-inch Clawsing Colchester lathe. This thing actually sort of came to me one day. I just happened to check the channel's Facebook page, and an individual that lived a couple towns over just made a post on there that said, "Hey, in your last video, the tour of your new house and shop, you said you were looking for a lathe. I'm getting a bigger one, and so I need to, I need to find a new home for mine." And one thing led to another, and I went over to his place with a trailer and a buddy of mine and an engine lift, and with that stuff and some straps and a floor jack and some bottle jacks and some foul language, a couple pry bars and a couple of dollies, we ended up getting the thing into the trailer, and then when I got it home, I unloaded it with the tractor, and then I positioned it in the corner of my shop as you see it here. So yeah, let's have a look at this thing. So I really like this thing because it's got gears in the head to change your speeds instead of the flimsy little belt thing that my other lathe has. As you can see, we got the speed chart here, and it's really easy to understand. So right now, for instance, I got it set to 750 RPM, which means that both of these levers are in their left position, and the lever in front is set like that. So everything is mechanical, which is nice, and yeah, let's fire it up. We also have this quick change gearbox, which is nice because ain't nobody got time for screwing around with change gears. And this thing seems, hi dog, this thing seems pretty simple to use. If I want, say, 48 TPI, if I want to cut something with 48 threads per inch, I'd set the first lever to C and the second one to B. And then I believe, I'm not an expert at this, I would just bump this thing into that hole right there. Come on. There. Like that. I'll get better at it. And then I think if I just fire it up and engage this power feed here, then we'd be set for that. It's moving. Slowly, but it's moving. And the other thing that's kind of cool is if I disengage this, and I believe work this, and then re-engage, that our cross slide should start working. Yeah, there we go. Very much. And I think that if I turn this off and move this lever here, it'll send the power feed back towards us. Not entirely sure though. No, I guess it isn't that. Maybe it's this. Yeah, there we go. Now it's moving. Sweet! That makes me wonder what the heck this lever does, but hey, that's half the fun of buying a new lathe, right? Alright, so another thing I like about this is there looks to be a lot I can do with it. You know, I can cut threads with almost no effort from 112 TPI all the way to 4 TPI, which is, I think, pretty massive, but what do I know? One thing I know is that this is a 3-phase lathe, and there's only single-phase 220 volt service here in the shop. And so what I did is I bought this NES1 inverter built by Hitachi, and I got it set up, and it seems to be working. Was a little bit of a pain to set up. It's not supposed to be a pain, but as you can see here, I don't know if the glare on the camera's getting it. This reads out 60 hertz right now. When I got the thing, myself and a buddy tried to get it set up, and for the life of us, we just could not get any life out of it. And so we called Hitachi's technical support, and they walked us through it, and I just cranked the thing up to 60 hertz, And as you can see, seems to work pretty well, I think. Haven't really tried to turn anything on it yet. Now I know some people will be curious, but I'm not actually going to go into detail on what I paid for this thing. Partly because I'm, believe it or not, aside from my job, a pretty private person, and also mainly because this wasn't a straight cash deal. This involved the lathe on his end, some tooling on his end, it involved cash on my end, it involved some machinery on my end, and on some welding lessons and some other things as well. But I will say we came to a pretty mutually agreed upon deal. The gentleman got to get this thing out of his garage, and I got it into my shop, so I'm pretty happy about that. Now, one thing I will say is that when I first found this lathe and when I first got pictures of it, I posted on a machinist page online and asked what those guys thought it'd be worth, because they're all, you know, professional machinists, they really know this kind of thing. And the general consensus there was probably $3,000 to $4,000. Just depending, you know, some parts of the country it could be a little bit more. Some parts of the country, like some Rust Belt cities, you can buy stuff like this generally for a lot less. But just depending on condition, if there's any tooling involved, probably in that range. Now, what did I get with it, you may be wondering? Well, it's a very good question. I got this awesome 5C collet chuck that came with a full set of collets, by the way. And I've never actually seen one of these before. But the way it works is that you take your collet and there's a groove in it, and you have to match the groove to the thingamajigger and the doohickey here, like that. And then I guess you crank down on it that way. And I got an email, yeah buddy. And then you stick your piece of material, in this case it would be an 11/16 piece of material in here, and you crank down on it and you get it all nice and tight. And when it's the way you want it, then it holds your material in there kind of like a collet and a collet body and a TIG torch would. It's the same concept. Just like that, you'd be ready to go. So I got all that stuff. I got this pretty good sized 3-jaw chuck. I believe this is the one that's going to see the most use out of all of these. And I also got that 4-jaw and this slightly smaller 6-jaw. And aside from that, I got two Enco quick change tool post holder things. This isn't a style that I've used in the past, but I'll probably actually just salvage the one off of my little Logan lathe because I really like it, and I bought some tooling for it. And I know it's a little bit lighter duty, but I think it should be fine for the kinds of stuff I'll be doing on this lathe. And this one is slightly larger. This takes like 3/4 inch friggin' insert holder things, or that steel stuff, the high-speed steel. So I might have to buy some bigger inserts and holders. If anyone has any recommendations for that sort of thing, I'd definitely be happy to hear it. And I got this cool boring bar thing. I gotta get some boring bars now. I think I have one somewhere, but it's really small. Yeah, you just, if you've got a boring bar with an insert or a piece of high-speed steel on the end of it, you just run it through these things and you crank down on this nut and that's what holds it in place. This is the steady rest off the Logan. I got this friggin' dial indicator thing. I understand it's not for this lathe, but it works perfectly on this lathe. And so now I've got to find one of those dial indicators that goes in here, and it's got the little thing that sticks out each side. I don't even know the technical name for that, but I've seen them and I know I want one, and now I have something to put it in. Got that. I don't know what this is. I think the guy said it was some kind of like a thread protector cap thing. It's just this little aluminum ring. Got some random hardware. Another set of chuck keys, and I'm actually going to go buy a toolbox just for all my machining stuff because I'm starting to get quite a bit of it, and I don't want to have like sparks and spatter land on crap and gum up threads and whatnot. I got this spider thing which goes on this thing somehow, and that way if you have to, you know, if you've got a piece of material that you're running through the head of the lathe, like it's 20 feet long or something, and I got the end of it way out here and I'm running it through and I'm working on the front end, then it holds things in place. I've done that to an extent with smaller material, but I've never used one of those spider things, and so I got to figure out how that works too. And again, I got this this follow rest thing. Not entirely sure how to use this, but I'm looking forward to doing some homework on it. And I got a steady rest in there as well. Cool thing about this is the guy who I bought the lathe from has been watching my videos for years, And I believe, if I remember what he said right, this was a lot to take in though, that he attempted to braze this after watching one of my brazing videos. And I honestly think it turned out really well. You know, it's all nice and smooth, and I don't think that's going to go anywhere. So, glad to have that. And aside from all that, I got this drill chuck here, and I got the sleeve for the drill chuck because that tailstock is pretty good size. It's got a Morse taper number 3 on it, and that's like a smaller number 2 drill chuck. And I got these feet for leveling the friggin' doohickey, which I still have to do. And I got a light for it, and just some more random stuff here and there. This lathe also has a built-in coolant pump. This is the switch for it here, of course. And this is the tailstock. Thing's huge, it feels really solid. And one thing I really like about it is that you loosen this and then you can move the thing back and forth. It just rides on these rails. Then when you got it positioned wherever you need it, you just clamp down on that and it's in place. I'm not entirely sure what this thing does. Maybe it like locks down the friggin' doohickey that comes out of the thingamajigger. But if it does, I'm not feeling much of a difference, but I might not be using it right. Yeah, so there's a few levers here and there that I don't know exactly what they do. Just like this taper attachment here. I mean, I know it cuts a taper, but I have no idea how to use the thing. And like I said, that's half the fun of buying a new lathe. But everything on it has a really nice feel to it. And you know, it feels very solid. Everything on here is made out of like super heavy duty cast iron. And yeah, it's built like a tank. This lathe actually has a fairly small footprint. Footprint wise, it's actually barely any bigger than the Logan, but it weighs about 4 times as much, and it you know, puts out 3 times the horsepower, and it's got a geared head and a quick change toolbox and gearbox rather. I'm really excited about that. So I think everything moves well, but I'm far from an expert on such things. I know this smaller friggin' tool post on here is a little bit rigged, but like I said, I usually work on smaller pieces. And this will let me use the tooling I have on a lot of them, but maybe someday I'll pick up a larger one when I have money to burn, just tossing it into tooling. But yeah, overall, pretty thrilled. Alright, so I don't really happen to have any friggin' round stock that'll fit in this thing because, like I said, I just moved here, and believe it or not, I have yet to go to a steel yard. Still have to find a steel yard around me. And so I just have a few random pieces of material to try out on this thing, and they're all too large to fit in this collet chuck. So I'm just going to take this off of here, which I'm not really looking forward to because I'm sure the thing weighs like 100 pounds. It's actually not as bad as I thought it would be. And then the next one's going to suck though. Nope, I lied. I guess it must have been the 4-jaw one that was a beast. One of these things is insanely huge. So I think this is kind of cool, YouTube. I got my chuck wrench here, which I'm using to give me leverage on the chuck. And then we got this piece here with the knurls on either end that just kind of clamp down over those threads with this included wrench. Alright, so this feels like a much more civilized process than just beating the one off my other lathe with a hammer or a mallet or whatever. Alright, I'll just snug this up. You can still see like one thread with the last chuck that was on here. So I think it's probably supposed to be like that. Alright, so I didn't bring very much steel with me when I moved. And one thing I do have, however, is this random piece of 2-inch inside diameter mild steel pipe. It's left over from those TIG pipe welding videos I did. And I guess we might as well just try this beast out on it. So I got one of these carbide inserts in here, left over from the old lathe. Got the thing set to about 500 RPMs. And let's try to take off, I'll try and zero this because the zero thing on it works. Alright, let's try to take off 60 thousandths of an inch. So that would put us right there. This might be too ambitious, but one way to find out. that made it work, but that was 60 thousandths of an inch, and we have a 4-foot long chip over here on the other side of the camera. Oh, this is a record. When I'm old, I'm gonna take like a bunch of these and zip tie them together and make myself a cane. Look at this thing. Look at this beautiful thing, YouTube. Look at the evidence of all the chatter we don't have and how nothing moves except for things that are supposed to move. All right, I'll toss that and I will take this glove off. What was that, 60 thousandths? Man, this is fun. All right, I will touch this insert to the pipe thing to attempt to get our 0. And hey, that basically is 0. All right, let's try 30 thousandths this time. Screw it, 35 thousandths, MIG wire diameter. All right, so this is where we are now. And I will move this up here so we don't have to wait for that slow power feed. Lathe doesn't even feel it. I love it. So this finish is actually one of the best I've ever gotten in all my my lathe adventures. You can clearly see where I changed the depth of cut a couple times, and where this ridge is where I stopped to move the camera so you guys could see. But I really like that. It's not even that warm. I mean, it is, but it really isn't. I can see my finger in it. That's awesome. Yeah, so far really pleased with this. Let's make another cut just for the heck of it. What I think I'm going to do is, instead of taking however much we've been taking, like 40 to 60 thousandths off, I'm only going to take 10 thousandths off, and as soon as this thing fires up, I'm going to kick it into its high speed mode. So let's try that. There's low speed, and here we go. I just got to remember to not start it in high. There we go. Oh, and the other thing, this lathe will run in reverse. You can see we got forward here and we got reverse there. So this is slow. That's what I did when I kicked it into its high gear. So there's slow again, and then we're reverse slow, reverse fast, and I don't know what that one is. There's all the way, that's forward fast, so that's where we want it to start it, I think. Yeah, myself being a total noob, I'm really not going to complain too much about that. Alright, let's try to drill some holes in some stuff. Alright, so I figured the next logical thing to do here is to try and drill a hole with this piece. So I got up to some 1-inch drill bits, so I figure since we got this piece of 1.5-inch cold rolled here, we might as well just see what kind of trouble we can get into with those. So I set this thing to about 300 RPMs or so, and let's try it out. Don't push it too far. To be fair though, these center drills do kind of suck. Alright, I was afraid of that. Okay, so that wasn't particularly graceful, but it looks like that piece of the center drill is just right in there, so maybe we can just kind of rip it out with this larger bit. Yeah, we got it, I think. It's still pushing on it. Oh, I ruined it. I ruined everything. Alright, let's just flip this over and pretend none of that ever happened. Oh, I'd fit into a machine shop in no time. Take two. YouTube, next up is our 3/4 inch hole, and this is a bit that I sharpened myself, so it may or may not work out all that well, but let's see what happens. So unfortunately, that's the point at which my camera's SD card filled up, but no great loss to society because we were pretty much done at this point anyway. So regardless, we got a nice hole drilled. That was my largest bit, and the lathe barely even felt it. I mean, I was really impressed by that. And so I guess that means I should go and find some larger drill bits somewhere. I guess I should start watching the friggin' eBay classifieds. But yeah, so I drilled the hole in the end of this piece, and then I got my parting tool out and I just parted off the end there just for the heck of it, and that was nice and uneventful. That one, you know, my tool post holder moved a little bit. So I guess I gotta like tighten that down or come up with something a little bit less redneck than the way I have it on there now. I think I really just need a different bolt, or I have to make a spacer or something. It shouldn't be a big deal. But regardless, yeah, we parted this off, and it was really easy. Everything worked great, and the lathe was really capable of it. It was a completely headache-free experience, which I was thrilled about. And overall, I am very, very happy with this lathe. It looks like exactly what I need to do what I want to do with it, and I'm sure it's going to be in a lot of videos to come. So to the individual that sold me to this, really thank you for a smooth transaction. If they want to identify themselves, you know, in the comments or whatever, that's fine, but I'm not going to do that. And everybody who watched, thanks for watching, and I'm sure this will be in a lot of videos to come. Have a nice night, everybody.